Most reports of unidentified flying objects suffer from a core problem. We get a shaky, out-of-focus video of a light in the sky and absolutely no institutional data to back it up. But occasionally, the record doesn't come from a lone observer on a dark road. It comes straight from the filing cabinets of the United States government. This is a declassified State Department document. It is titled 94 Dushanbe 259, and it was sent on January 31, 1994. On its finis, it reads like standard administrative paperwork originating from the U.S. Embassy in Tajikistan. It is formally routed to the Secretary of State, the CIA, and the Defense Intelligence Agency. The sheer bureaucratic rigidity of this paperwork makes the anomaly recorded inside it nearly impossible to write off as folklore. Looking closely at the subject line, the mundane formatting breaks. It reads, Tajik air pilots report unidentified flying object. These witnesses aren't anonymous tipsters. The primary observer is Captain Ed Rhodes, chief pilot for Tajik Air, alongside two veteran American colleagues. The State Department formally documented this event because the aviation credentials of the men who reported it were unimpeachable. 2 days prior to the date on the cable, on January 27th, Captain Rhodes and his crew were flying a Boeing 747 at an altitude of 41,000 feet over Kazakhstan. Looking out toward the eastern horizon, they spotted an intensely bright light approaching them. It was moving at an extreme rate of speed and holding an altitude much higher than their own. The document notes for 40 minutes, the crew watched the object execute circles, corkscrews, and right-angle turns at speeds generating massive G-forces. The pilots reported a bow wave resembling a high-speed bullet in flight, leaving a massive trailing wake of heat. The sighting was so sustained that Captain Rhodes grabbed his pocket Olympus camera and took several photographs directly from the cockpit. A fleeting atmospheric illusion does not last for 40 minutes. Furthermore, standard aerospace craft do not execute right-angle turns at those speeds without disintegrating. About 45 minutes after the object vanished over the horizon, the sun began to rise, revealing a physical signature left behind in the sky. The 747 crew found themselves flying directly beneath a series of contrails. These vapor trails perfectly matched the erratic flight path they had just witnessed, carving out the exact same circles and corkscrews. Based on their vantage point, Captain Rhodes estimated those lingering contrails were suspended at an altitude of approximately 100,000 feet. Look at this diagram of the atmosphere's vertical profile. At 41,000 feet, aircraft regularly create vapor trails, but at 100,000 feet, there is virtually no moisture. The propulsion mechanisms of ordinary aircraft cannot generate contrails in that completely dry layer of the stratosphere. The event was not an optical illusion. The object interacted with the upper atmosphere, leaving behind a meteorological footprint that defied the physical limits of known aerospace technology. Back on the ground, the embassy official drafting the report pushed back. He suggested that the crew might have just seen a meteor grazing the Earth's atmosphere and skipping off. This paragraph shows the crew rejected that theory. Pointing to years flying for Pan Am, they had seen thousands of falling stars. Judging by its speed and maneuverability, they put their opinion on the official record. The object was under intelligent control. Because these men had spent decades observing the sky, they had a massive baseline for identifying normal phenomena. That precise experience is exactly why their conclusion carries institutional weight. After recording a sustained encounter with a vehicle defying known physics, the State Department official concludes the cable with this entirely mundane sign-off. We have no opinion and report the above for what it may be worth. There is a staggering disconnect between the impossible flight mechanics observed by expert pilots and the total lack of urgency from the government office receiving the report. The most revealing detail of the Dushanbe cable is how unremarkable the paperwork is. Decades before the modern public hearings on aerospace anomalies, reports of impossible vehicles operating in our skies were already being quietly, routinely filed away in the outboxes of American bureaucracy.